WRKS Pickens Jackson.
Hey, what do you say we sing a driving song?
There's not going to be any singing around here. Just
real sports.
On the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly.
Oh, this is going to be sweet.
And it's all right here, right now on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Twenty-second day of April 2024. Welcome in. It is the Afternoon Drive. Champ of the Chair Sports Maven on a Monday. Streaming on the Zone1059.com. You can always text us like Bill, who welcomes us a start-off ding. Here we go on the Cowboy Maloney's text line. 601-885-3776. Make your house a home with Cowboy Maloney's. 13 locations around the state. Online at cowboymaloney's.com. We're brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Got out and play. A lot to play at Ameristar. We'll get you some updated odds. Of course, you've got things going on with the NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, college baseball, and more at Ameristar. We'll visit with Keith Hardy on Friday. 601-897-1059. That is the Malone Roofing caller line. ecmalone.com is their website. 8337-MALONE. That's 8337-MALONE. Commercial residential roofing done right with Malone Roofing Services. And we're on X, brought to you by Clinton Body Shop. Jake Wim is the, I don't know if you call it, what do you just call it? Username? I guess it's a username. I'm just Jake Wim on X. I was going to say a call sign, but that would almost be like we're fighter pilots, right? But not fighter pilots. X at Jake Wim, brought to you by Clinton Body Shop. Richland, Clinton locations, OEM factory certified, all the manufacturers you trust at Clinton Body Shop. David Murray will join us at 3:30. We'll recap Mississippi State's weekend. Mississippi State looks like they found him a pretty good quarterback, Blake Shapen. Got a quarterback leaving the program in Mike Wright. And Chris Landry will join us at 4 to 4:30. We'll talk NFL draft and more. Let's see here. Res Dog, wow, you decided to work today. Thanks for joining us, Jake Brooks. Well, Beaver, I appreciate you joining us today. I hate that you weren't able to be here last week and us not have a show. So I'm glad you're here today.
Oh, yeah. It was me. It was all my fault.
No, it was this crazy business that we're in's fault. So, yeah, last week, end of the week, had to take off at least here to work in there. Did you have to put all this monstrosity that's behind us in this hallway? What is going on here?
Yeah. It was very convenient that you weren't here for the moving. It was so what you're speaking of, so that people know. It's the office next door. Replacing, people are coming tomorrow to replace an air conditioner unit. Had to move an entire office, a big old heavy desk, a huge bookshelf. What else was in there? Everything that would normally go in an office. And conveniently, Jake Wimberly, during the times that needed to be moved, although I was told, I said, you know what? I was told, Bill said, hey, we're going to need your help Monday. Me, you, Ricky, who's the boss man, and Jake are all going to move this office. Oh, you know who ended up doing it? Me and Bill. And I was downright disgusted. I went to Ricky, the boss man, up front. I was so proud. I guilt-tripped him. Into actually coming to help because me and Bill is 70. And I went over there because Ricky started out trying to have casual conversation. He goes, oh, it looks like you shaved. That's what he said. And I says to him, well, I had to prepare to move this desk because since it was only going to be me and Bill, me and a 70-year-old man. And he felt bad and came back and actually helped move the bookshelf. So I felt really good about that. And I says to them, okay, we're going to wait to move this back until Jake is here because he's going to get into this now.
Fair enough.
Because I found it rather convenient.
Just
that you weren't here.
Stuff going on all day. A lot of stuff going on all day. What day are we moving this stuff back?
Well, that depends on when the air conditioner people come.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be tomorrow. We'll see.
Is that affecting the air in the studio? I have no idea.
It's not supposed to affect this room. Well,
Who
I'm
knows?
always going to tell you it's hot anyway, so
You are.
you can't ask me.
Let's see here. Beth Moen's offspring. Go Vols. Also, Broncos have beautiful new uniforms. Life is good. And a new quarterback. Do you see that? Zach Wilson is a Denver Bronco. Do you think Sean Payton can fix this broken individual?
I don't want to go against Molly. You know I got a lot of faith in him, but as Zach Wilson, that's questionable, even for Peyton.
It's extremely questionable. All right, we got a lot to get to. It is NFL Draft Week. We are glad to be back on the radio. Did you see any of the Mississippi State spring game? Did you see any of the highlights? Shapen looked good. 18 of 22, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns. Longest pass of the day was 60-yard strike that he completed. You know, again, take these things with a grain of salt. Offense looks good. Defense looks bad. Is the offense good? Is the defense bad? All that kind of stuff. Let's see. And there's other stuff on the spring games I want to get to as well. Did you see, this was the end of last week, that ESPN and TNT won't pay what the NBA wants and they're renegotiating? You know, the NBA ratings have tanked. Nobody's watching the NBA. And now ESPN and TNT, their negotiations, they're not going to pay what the NBA wants. Isn't this crazy? The NFL gets anything they want. Anything. Major League Baseball, they're kind of just treading water. But the NBA is down to like cricket. Like, do you realize hockey, I believe, gets better ratings than the NBA? Isn't that crazy?
Depending on where you look, apparently, because they try to tell me in some areas that, the NBA ratings, they're pulling in 1.6 million viewers per game. Like that's huge. But so some places have been telling me, because we've been looking at this for a while now, and the common theme seems to be NBA ratings are indeed down, 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 down. But some places are still trying to hold on to this and tell me, that's not right.
Well, I'm sure if you look at certain markets, you could make the argument that, hey, in this market, that it is up. I'm throwing a random mark, Atlanta. If the ratings were up 2.5% from last year in Atlanta, some will spin it and go, oh, no, they're up 2.5%. But no, that's just in that market. That's not across the country. So we'll continue to watch that story. Speaking of stories and money, Mario Cristobal was credited with $22.7 million in total pay for 2022. Now, this is the head football coach of the University of Miami. $22.7 million in total pay. Quote, that's the largest ever single-year amount for an athletics department employee on a tax form by a private university, according to USA Today Sports Research. Can you believe that? That's like double Nick Saban. Mario Cristobal, $22.7 million for what they got going on down there. And I'll get more into that. Also, Missouri, did you see the renderings of their new $250 million renovation of its football stadium? Looks good, at least on the renderings. And this will be, modern-day stuff, a lot of glass on the exterior, very nice facade. Interior, they're bowling around the grassy field area that sits in the, I'm going to guess that's the west end zone. But anyway, looks really, really good. So Deion Sanders was asked about Colorado losing players to the portal late last week. He said, what are we losing? A reporter said, potential starters. Deion says, where? And then, did you see this? They went back and forth. And Deion's like, obviously you don't watch practice. So we'll see what goes on over the next few weeks with Colorado and others. There's other movement in the transfer portal. More pressure for the NCAA and its members to lift prohibitions on direct athletes' compensation from NIL. Ross Dellinger reporting several weeks ago, Charlie Baker's Project D1, which was the first phase of direct NIL from schools to athletes, has for now been paused. Told you this wasn't going to happen. It's never going to happen. Charlie Baker's never going to get this thing off the ground. It's never going to happen. Also, Notre Dame, late last week on Friday, Notre Dame athletics, or late Thursday, are considered now employees and have been denied rights through the student athletic label, a new NLRB charge brought by the College Basketball Players Association. And, of course, recap on what this all was at the end of last week. NCAA is now facing a third NLRB or case over athletic employment or athlete employment, a case seeking athletic minimum wage, 2 cases seeking billions in NIL. That's the Alston back pay. Also, 2 cases to eliminate transfer NIL restrictions and state laws prohibiting enforcement and permitting athletic pay. This is just getting nastier and nastier for the NCAA. Also, late Thursday, early Friday, you see Arizona State quarterback Jaden Rashada's in the transfer portal. This is Tate Martell 2.0. 100%. This kid will never make it. Locked into that massive NIL dispute, if you remember Jaden Rashada with the Florida Gators. Gets out of that, goes to Arizona, plays 1 year in the transfer portal. He's got 4 years of eligibility. This dude will finish his career probably at Idaho. Is that fair?
Oh, no. I immediately started seeing out there on the Facebook and the X, he's going to visit Mississippi State.
For what?
Jesus, every quarterback that comes available. He's immediately, y'all people think, he's coming to Starkville. Got to be coming to Starkville.
Got to be coming to Starkville. Coming to throw that ball. 601-885-3776. We got a lot to get to. We'll get to some updated baseball standings in the SEC and more. We're brought to you by our friends at Rebel Hardware, Rebel Outdoor Power. Get your property, yard, and area ready to go all year long through Rebel and Rebel Outdoor Power. Go to rebeloutdoor.com. Great deals on zero turns, lawnmowers, all kinds of stuff like weed eaters, edgers, everything you need for your flower beds and more. RebelOutdoor.com. Monday edition of the program, back in a bit.
This is the home of the Chuck Oliver Show every weekday from 10 till noon on Mississippi's live and local sports authority. And where? We're back to Jake Quiverly with the afternoon drive on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Monday edition of the program brought to you by the MHSAA. Officially become official today. MISSHSAA.com. 601-924-6400. Our good friends with the MHSAA will have the 2024 MHSAA Baseball Championships at Trustmark Park coming up here in about a month. Speaking of Trustmark Park, ResDog is asking that anybody wants to go to Miranda Lambert with him, he will take them. It's interesting that I'm proud of ResDog wanting to take somebody on listener on this show to Miranda Lambert.
Oh, don't put that on ResDog. Don't put that on ResDog. What's actually happening here is in one text he sends that and talked about how they're a defunct minor league team, Truth, and called her a sleut. I don't know about that, but it's funny.
He's on one on a Monday. 2-minute warnings. Helmet communications, we'll get into this coming to college football during the 2024 season. Are you in favor of a 2-minute warning in college football?
No.
Really?
I'm not. I mean, it's not like a massive deal. When I read it, I didn't get, this is wrong. But we don't have to make college football more and more and more like the NFL. This is just one thing that's closer to, we're trying to make this so much like the NFL. 2-minute warning. Because it reminded me of back in 1992 when I first started watching football.
That was the year you started watching football?
Yeah, I was late. I was 9 years old when I started watching, and I had seen the NFL. I saw the NFL before I had watched a college game. And this reminded me of I was watching an Egg Bowl, actually, with my grandpa. And when it got to the 2 minutes in the fourth quarter, since I had never seen a college game, I looked at him and said, "Where's the 2-minute warning?" And he didn't even answer. He was just like, what are you talking about, kid? There ain't no 2-minute warning in college football. He didn't say that, but that's what it reminded me of. So that's how I learned ain't no 2-minute warning in college football. Fast forward all these, that's just a random memory that it made me think of. But anyway, It's just a little tweak trying to make it more like the NFL. Like there's not going to be a difference soon.
Well, that is true. Well, there won't be a difference at some point. It'll be the same game, just different players. Let's see here. Boomer Sooner, and you can text us 601-885-3776. Why do they need a 2-minute warning? They already stop after every play for review. Well, I get what you're saying, but I mean, again, we'll get into this, and I think there's some reasoning in here on why they did this. Unnamed texter, why don't they make basketball 4 quarters instead of worrying about adding another commercial break to football? That's a great question, right? I mean, the women, they go 4 quarters. I don't know why the guys never did. I wonder if David Murray knows that answer to that. I bet he does. We'll ask David. We'll see if he knows. Let's see here. College sports is in a revolution. Unlimited transfers, open inducements, little enforcement. And we may get into this inside the mind of Jeffrey Kessler, the man who helped top NCAA amateurism and plunge it into chaos, also being responsible for terminating a future model. Again, Blake Shapen over the weekend, Mississippi State, 18 for 22, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, longest pass of 60 yards. Also, did you see Arch Manning in the spring game? Oh, boy.
My God. Yes. When I read about his performance, that was my first thought was, oh, Jake's going to talk about this.
19 of 25, 355 yards, 3 touchdowns, hashtag hook 'em. I told you. It's inevitable this young man is going to be awesome.
19 of 26.
Oh.
But I felt like you were writing this article because they also made sure to point out he was 19 of 26, but they couldn't just go there. They had to point out, and at least 4 of his passes hit a receiver's hands. They had to make sure, it wasn't Saint Manning's fault. It was these garbage receivers.
I mean, you have to kind of point that out. I mean, I would think, right?
Do you?
I don't know. Dak Prescott threw his receivers under the bus. Quarterbacks do it. Last month, the biggest money fight in college sports history unfolded. College football playoff negotiations were heated and will have a permanent scar, but how this could have been avoided. This being how a failed deal, Pac-12 collapse, and SEC Big Ten's threats changed the industry forever. This is from Ross Dellinger. Really good read I want to get into. In this, talks about would the SEC and Big Ten have left the college football playoff and abandoned the other leagues if revenue negotiations weren't to their liking? Both commissioners, Greg Sankey and Tony Petitti, said they had other options lined up. So, yes, of course. I'm telling you, they've got this thing teed up. When the dominoes don't fall the way that Sankey and Petitti want, they're out. They're out. I mean, 100% they're out. So, interesting read here. Also, side note, college football leaders meet tomorrow in Dallas as part of their annual 2-day spring gathering. Meetings aren't expected to produce any significant news, but it's the first in-person meeting since adoption of the contentious revenue model. And we'll get into some more of this. Also, we said earlier, first segment, Zach Wilson headed to Denver during first day of draft week. Former starting quarterback Zach Wilson on the move, headed to the Broncos. Do you know what this, let's see, I think the deal, what was the deal on this? What did Denver have to give up, if anything?
Honestly, I didn't see specifics. All I saw was the phrase, a late round pick.
So now the Broncos have Zach Wilson, Jarrett Stidham, and Ben DiNucci. Do you think they'll add another quarterback?
I would think so. I still think they're going to draft someone.
I mean, is Jarrett Stidham, what's the beat on this guy?
Obviously not impressive.
I mean, are they going to give him a shot? Is Peyton going to give him a shot on this?
If it's all they have. If they don't draft a quarterback, I guess Peyton, I don't know what Sean Payton's doing here.
Also, there's a piece, Ian Rappaport, on Dak Prescott. Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott on the lack of a contract. We'll get into this. Quote, right now it's with the Dallas Cowboys. It's where I want to be, and that's where I am, and that's the focus. And after the season, we'll see where we're at and if the future holds that. telling you, this is it for him.
Oh, they left out the best part
What's that?
where he was totally full of it. I heard the audio. They played it on Colin Cowherd, and he was talking about, because obviously, the thinking is, Dak's going to sign this new mega deal because that's talked about that. The next quarterback up always gets the biggest deal ever. But anyway, They asked him specifically about, being paid, whatnot. And he says, what was his exact wording? He says, I'm not worried about being the highest paid. Good start, but there was pause. Then he says, necessarily. Okay.
So I'm just kind of worried about it. Depends on the day, how I wake up. Yeah, I would be, I don't know. I don't know that, it depends on how he plays this year. If he's very average, I think they go away from him. If they miss the playoffs, I know they go away from him. Hey, we're brought to you by Cowboy Maloney, 70 years in the business, Mississippi owned and operated, largest appliance inventory in the state. Online at cowboymaloney's.com. Grab a location near you, 13 around the state. Find them online at cowboymaloney's.com. Got to take a time out. David Murray on Mississippi State coming up next.
And action!
We got that and a whole lot more around here. It's the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly.
What's the score?
He's got that, along with the hottest sports stories of the day on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by New South Neurospine. Online at ns2.md. Same-day appointments can be made, ns2.md, or walk in the Spine Center in Flowood, Mississippi Spine Center. That is New South Neurospine. And, of course, open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Also on Saturdays, 8 to 1. David Murray, GenesPage247sports.com on your radio. David, welcome in, sir. How are you?
I have just finished a whole bunch of weeding and poisoning and other stuff around the things that Super Bulldog Week and recent football and baseball demands kept me from doing. Today, I ran out of excuses, so it was outdoors and do the stuff that has been delayed. But all done. Weeds now carted off into the nearby field and ready to kind of pick up the pieces from the weekend that was, and what a weekend it was.
Yeah, let's talk about it, kind of get your thoughts on everything. We'll start baseball first. Mississippi State still holding that third spot in the SEC West at 10-8 in the conference, 26-14 overall. Your thoughts of the weekend in baseball?
Well, going into the week, I made it clear, at least in my own mind, whatever that's worth, I said it had to be a sweep. It wasn't just win a conference series. The Bulldogs had to sweep. They had to come out of this first six series, in my mind, over 500. They've managed to pull that off now. Yes, they can't get some of those games back. You're still going to look back at the loss to Georgia or the game 2 loss at Ole Miss and regard those as two that got away. And if you don't, all of a sudden you're sitting really pretty right now with 10 wins, but as it is, 12 wins. As it is with 10, you're on track. The whole key, and this is just being pragmatist, don't get swept at Vanderbilt. Somehow don't get swept at Arkansas, which is way easier said than done because some really darn good state teams have been burned by Arkansas. Win your home series. You're in the NCAA tournament. You're an outside chance of hosting, depending on how those series take place and what you do in Hoover. So Chris Lemonis' team is back on track. Now, if they can just get Nate Dome back healthy and in the rotation somehow, or possibly in a bullpen-type role, they'll be poised to make a run here in the last 4 series of the season.
David, what are you, I know it's early, projection-wise, Mississippi State can start talking, it looks like postseason baseball again. Early projections, not necessarily location. I mean, we're talking about an outside opportunity to host, 2 seed, 3 seed, kind of where they're at.
Well, I say right now 2 seed. The RPI improved to 45 today, And that RPI is dragged down by just a really bad non-conference schedule. You know, I've talked about that many times, and some ugly losses in the process of that as well. They're not going to help themselves with any other non-conference game, except, of course, the Governor's Cup game with Ole Miss will be a RPI boost there as well. But you're in the position now where really you probably need to cancel. Like last week, by playing Alcorn State, you lost 8 spots in the RPI because they're third to last in the country, RPI. That's what you have to watch out for. But this whole season is going to come down to SEC season. So you got Vanderbilt, who is really a different team on their home field you got to go to. But then you've got home series left with Alabama, with Missouri. You feel like you've got a chance to make a run here at the end of it, position yourselves well. And for Hoover, yes, they're on the way back to Hoover. So that's we can just about put that in the books at this point, barring a collapse. So, like I said, just get some guys healthy, get Dylan Cup back at the shortstop position, give you more alternates, start working on that batting order. I mean, yes, I could put my own order together and nobody's going to listen to it, although I'd sure like to see David Mershon leading up and Connor Heisack hitting second. That's just me. The coaches get paid to do this. They have their reasons. So you see some things. If they can just get some of these runners home, they'd be in so much better shape offensively, and they're close. They're just that close to getting it done. I like the way they fought back. They didn't concede the third game. They made it happen. So Bulldog baseball is back on the right track, but only on track. You still got a long way to go to reach that finish.
David Murray talking Mississippi State Sports, Monday edition of the program. Make sure to find him at genespage.com, 247sports.com affiliate. Also check him out on X as well. All right. Blake Shapen, pretty good numbers over the weekend. Your thoughts? I mean, it's a spring game. I get it. But, I mean, you know, Bulldog fans, over thirsty for a little bit of offensive action. Got that on Saturday if they participated and watched the spring game. Your thoughts of what you saw, the new look Jeff Lebby Bulldogs?
You know, between the games yesterday at Duty, I was talking to an administrator who's in charge of football oversight, and I said, you know, I've been doing the spring game thing a long time. In fact, that was my 45th spring game at Mississippi State. And I can count on one hand, probably not even the whole hand, the number of spring games that I would say mattered. This one mattered. This is a rare exception to it, not just because of the situation state football's in generally, but the addition of Jeff Lebby, what he's done offensively, what the new receivers are doing. You mentioned Blake Shapen. The way the ball came out of his hand, you just sit there and just think, what an astounding difference a tenth of a second makes in getting the ball out to the receivers who are getting open, to putting the ball on the spot, letting them make plays. And I'm going to tell you the thing that I came away encouraged even most about. The offensive line, they showed an attitude. Those 4 transfers have stepped right in, brought some juice to that offensive front there. Albert Reese, who's plugging in now, found his position at guard, he's even showing some attitude with him as well. I like what they did against the Dog defense that knew exactly what the offense was going to run and still could not stop them after the first series or two. So thoroughly pleased with the offense. I see some signs defensively that's got a lot more athleticism out there. Still some concerns about the secondary coverage, but what else is new there? But I'm telling you, this spring game mattered, Jake, and weather kept the crowd down to some extent, but boy, everybody's reading our after game reports, our features of the players, and you can tell everybody wants to know what happened. They want to see the replays and think, is this really happening here? Yeah, it's really happening.
Let's wrap it up a little basketball. Looks like things are coming together for Chris Jans for next year, is it not?
It is, and it's funny, too, because I was ready to cash everything in Saturday night, and all of a sudden news starts breaking that State got a commitment from a guard from Boston College who was their leading three-point shooter. You plug him in there, and all of a sudden Josh Hubbard's got some help to work with. Then the news that Keyshawn Murphy decided to take his name out of the portal. He's coming back. And, yeah, he had his disagreements with the coach last year just because he's still learning how to play defense to the level that Chris Jans wants. Offensively, there's no question how much explosiveness he can bring to that team. Now you still got to plug in another post player, but those guys are visiting. He's not through the portal yet, and nor is Sam Purcell, by the way. He's picking up commitments also. So the portal closes on the 30th. But remember, if you're in the portal, you don't have to sign or commit by the 30th. You can keep dragging this on out and figure out what you want to do the rest of the way. So I expect basketball to keep going. Of course, they're announcing their non-conference schedule, getting that out as well. So, you know, Historically, I've always said the busiest time of the year for us in this business, Jake, is actually the middle of February to the middle of April. Start of baseball, the end of basketball, spring football. All of a sudden, it ain't slowing down. Jeff Levy is having his exit interviews this week, and then he and the staff go recruiting. They want to plug in some pieces like another running back, another cornerback, an edge rusher they can find, and possibly another offensive tackle and pick it up. And then they go speaking. Chris Jan still got recruiting going full blast. And Bulldog baseball, hey, you see what some of these guys are doing? They've got to think recruiting too, because some of these guys are playing themselves into the draft as well. So it ain't slowing down for any of them, Jake, which means it's not slowing down for us either.
David, I appreciate your time as always. Look, have a great week. Don't let them work you too hard.
Yeah, if I can get this yard work done, then my major task is finished, and I can have a little peace hopefully this evening.
Very good. David, talk to you next week. I appreciate it.
All right.
Thanks so much. David Murray on your radio, brought to you by Clinton Body Shop, 601-924-2159, OEM factory certified, all the manufacturers you trust. Also down in Richland as well, certified by the company that made your car to repair your car with OEM factory parts. Back in a bit.
Turning to sports.
With Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive.
One of the last pure pleasures I have left in my life.
Yeah, maybe you ought to get a life first, okay? On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Appreciate David Murray jumping in, talking Mississippi State sports, a little basketball, baseball. Dogs look poised to be back in the postseason this year. That will keep Lamonas in Starkville, or you'd have to think it will, especially if they make a run in a regional, get to a super regional. You think he's definitely there. And then, of course, talking a little football. We're brought to you by Ashley Howie Cry Like Realtor, 769-226-3782, facebook.com/Ashley Howie Realtor if you're looking to buy, sell, or relocate. Chris Landry will join us 4 to 4:30. Talking NFL draft, a lot of NFL draft, maybe a little college. NFL Network, we'll get into some of this. They have already scoured this draft and projected who's going to be all pros, who's going to be pro bowlers, and overachievers. We'll get into some of that. Speaking of transfer portal, former Texas A&M and USC defensive lineman Isaiah Rakes has committed to Auburn, 6'1", 315-pound defensive lineman. He'll have a year left to play. And as he says on his X feed, the Plains is the crib, War Damn Eagle. Also, Mississippi State quarterback Mike Wright is headed to the transfer portal again. Wright has thrown for 2,520 yards, 1,229 yards rushing. He started, of course, was a starter at Vanderbilt for some time. He will do very nicely at probably Louisiana Tech. Do you remember last year when a lot of people felt like this guy was going to be the answer for Zach Arnett? Michael Wright. You can watch this dude play like 10 plays. Nah. Let's see here. Grumpy. Champ. Grumpy wants to know, does Champ normally have David Murray on Monday afternoons? Always a great info. Yeah, I try to grab it, depending on the day. We'll go David or Steve. Paul Jones when we get a chance to grab him. Then we'll go Michael Katz, some others, Jake Thompson, depending on the day. But, yeah, a lot of times on Mondays. Miami transfer running back Henry Parrish has committed to Ole Miss. You know, we were talking about this last week before we had to break to take care of other stuff. 2 running backs, one from Oregon State, one from Miami in the transfer portal, and there was going to be some shifting in the running backs, and that has happened. So Ole Miss picks up Henry Parrish. Parrish rushed for 2,057 yards in his career, so that is a good addition for Ole Miss to put in that backfield. Also, Michigan State wide receiver Antonio Gates Jr. has entered the NCAA transfer portal. He is the son of former NFL legend Antonio Gates. So if you are my age and you hear Antonio Gates Jr., yes, it makes you feel old. And we are all getting old. Let's see here. Also, J.J. McCarthy's odds to be selected second in the NFL draft have increased from 2,000 to 1 to 9, or from 20 to 1 to 9 to 1 by FD Sportsbook. We'll get into some of that. So J.J. McCarthy still could come off the board at number 2. Very well could come off the board at number 2. Also, speaking of those running backs, Miami loses one but picks one up, as Damian Martinez has now committed to play for the Miami Hurricanes. And he was probably the better of the two, if we're being honest. So Miami got an upgrade, and Ole Miss got a running back as well. And let's see, Colorado picks up former Texas offensive lineman Peyton Kirkland, 6'6", 350 pounds. He'll have 4 years of eligibility as he heads to play for Deion Sanders. And then, of course, they grab another one. Pitt edge rusher Dayan Hayes will head to Colorado as well. Total 81 tackles, 27 tackles for loss, 13 sacks, 3 forced fumbles in his career so far. Was top available edge rusher in the transfer portal, courtesy of On3.com. And again, Arch Manning with a massive day. Did you watch any of these highlights? Man, the ball looks good coming out of his hands.
Why is it? Why is it every other time, literally, you make fun of people who, like back Alabama, you make fun of people who were talking back in the day about how impressive Tua was in a spring game. But now that Arch Manning had a good spring game, you're acting like this is something. And I'm not making this up. This is legitimately what you do. Finally proven that Wimberly has favorites that he's playing.
When have I ever attacked Tua?
His spring game.
Did I?
Whatever year that was.
That was a long time ago.
That's just one. Not just because it's an Alabama thing, but you have made fun of people who think because a quarterback, no matter where it is, has a good spring game, that they're destined for greatness. And now you're doing it with Arch Manning.
Well,
Jake, just because it fits your narrative.
I'm just saying,
don't do this. The
ball looks different coming out of his hands. Looks like a Manning throwing to me. Super Bowl winning quarterbacks. What are you talking about? Peyton, Eli, both going to be first ballot Hall of Famers, aren't they? I mean, close your eyes when you watch him throw and just imagine one of the others, and he looks just like him.
See, you're talking like Eli Manning is a definite first ballot. That's a huge debate there.
Is it?
Peyton, yes, absolutely, 100%, no doubt. But you heard when Eli Manning retired, that was almost an immediate debate.
It was. 2 Super Bowls, though. Is he the best quarterback to ever play for the New York Giants?
Trying to think back to the Giants' history, just since I've been watching football.
I'll see if I
can
pull some of that on Eli Manning. 601-897-1059. Bill, get him, Beaver. Don't let Jake off the hook. I'm crying. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just watching Arch Manning throw the ball. That's it. I'm just watching him throw the ball in a spring game, and he throws it well. The kid can spin it. Now, obviously, he'll have to wait one more year before he may get some time this year. They may put him in some this year with Quinn Ewers, but we'll see as Texas rolls along. Let's see here. Also, baseball standings in the SEC. When you look at the SEC West or East after the weekend, Kentucky still a 3-game lead over Tennessee, 15-3 leads the SEC East. They have lost 2 in a row though, 32-7 overall. Tennessee has won 2 in a row, 12-6. 33-7. Vanderbilt sits at 10-8, 29-11. Georgia sits at 9-9, along with South Carolina, both 9-9, 29-10, and 27-13. Florida and Missouri bring up the rear in the SEC East, 8-10 and 6-12 in the conference, 20-19 and 18-23. SEC West, Arkansas, they won a ball game yesterday. They are now 14-4 in the conference. They have a 1-game lead over Texas A&M. That lead has shrunk now. Texas A&M, of course, making up ground here at 13-5. Both teams 34-6 and 35-5 respectively. Mississippi State has won 4 in a row. They are 10-8 in the Southeastern Conference. 3 games behind Texas A&M. They sit 3 games in front of Alabama. So really just holding on to that third seed, pretty comfortable, or third position in the SEC West. They are 26-14. Alabama sits 7-11. Ole Miss 6-12, 25-15, 21-18. Also LSU 5-13, and Auburn 2-16. When I go over here and look at baseball top 25, D1Baseball.com, Texas A&M now the number 1 team in the country after upending Arkansas. Arkansas moves to number 2, Tennessee number 3, and Kentucky number 4. So the top 4 teams in the country are all Southeastern Conference teams. A&M, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, Clemson number 5. Some notables here: Vanderbilt checks in at number 11, and Oklahoma checks in at number 18, and Alabama checks in at 23. Anything on the phones we need to share?
More Bully just calling to tell me about Ranch Cheetos.
What?
Yep.
Call at 4:30 and tell us about it, more Bully. We're brought to you by Maristar Casino. Get out and play. Chris Landry coming up next.
The number you have reached.
WRKS Pickens Jackson. From college football to the NFL to high school football. 365 days a year. Hear it all on Jackson Sports Authority. Live and local at 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com. Now let's get back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly.
Hour 2 on a Monday. We're streaming on the Zone1059.com. Brought to you by our friends at Mississippi Legends Grill. Everybody knows your name at Mississippi Legends Grill. Get in this week. Bingo, trivia. Kids eat free on Thursdays. And, of course, Catfish Friday, Fried Chicken Friday on Friday. Corner of Castlewoods Drive and Lakeland Drive. Everyone knows your name. Chris Landry on your radio. Monday edition of the program. Of course, find him at Landry Football. Also, Landry on X, Landry Football, LandryFootball.com. Chris, happy Monday. What's going on?
Oh, just draft week. That's all. Ready to get this week over with.
Yeah. So, obviously, for consultants like yourself, I know that it's past time. You're ready to move on to something different. But what is kind of, and we've talked about this, but just for those that haven't heard it before, it's always interesting to hear your take because you've been a part of so many of these, internally and, of course, with the consulting now. What is going on in camps today, first part of the week until Thursday?
Well, the hay's in the barn, really, with the evaluation. What's going on right now is the final meeting. So usually by this past weekend, you set your draft board up, and you've gone through scenarios a little bit, and you'll spend today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and even, a little bit of Thursday, just going through scenarios and you take maybe more breaks than you normally do, and you get on the phone and you try to get a feel for what others might be thinking, who might be people that you think might be interested in moving up or down, or you kind of get a feel for things. So we always like to have everything done before this week, so that you can go through different scenarios. I tell you what else that people may not realize that gets done right now. You spend a lot of time going over the guys that are priority free agents that won't get drafted. So you spend a lot of time going through your guys at the bottom of your draftable board because that becomes very competitive. And so what I always like to do, you meet with coaches and you say, look, these are the guys that we want, but that we won't draft. And what you do is you try to go through, and sometimes you'll sit and break out the film and you have arguments. I like this guy better than that guy. You get them in the right order. And so what I tried to do is I had the coaches and the area scouts call the players like in the 7th round of the draft on Saturday. And basically play good cop, bad cop. It's D-line coach saying, hey, Jacob, I love you. I want to get you drafted, but my no good, GM, we're trying to look at other, I don't know. If we don't, let me tell you what we got. You got a great chance to, earn a starting job here, whatever. And so you need to make sure at this point before you're going into the draft how you want to have those guys stacked. Because I will tell you, there will be guys, not maybe, definitely, there will be guys on your draftable board that are still there when the draft's over. So those are the guys you go after first. So there's a lot of painstaking detail on how you got guys graded in the 4th or 5th round, because you'll have a 4th or 5th round grade on a guy that goes undrafted. And so that's obviously a priority signing for you once the draft is over.
Chris Landry talking about the draft. Of course, draft week is here. Monday edition of the program. Find him on X at Landry Football, also LandryFootball.com. Chris, that's interesting to hear that, and I haven't ever thought about it from that perspective of kind of working backwards. So, I mean, you kind of know what's going to happen here's round 1, round 2, round 3, maybe round 4, but working backwards. But, when you start talking about, and I can't remember the numbers. I know that studies have been done on what percentage of undrafted free agents make it in the league, make a team, and I'm sure that number is low. But still, those guys after Saturday are, if I hear you correctly, positioning those guys. That is extremely important to these organizations.
Absolutely, because just pure numbers, you're going to have more guys signed as undrafted free agents than guys that are drafted in the 6th or 7th round. So that's why more of those guys make the roster than a 6th or 7th round, because it's just more numbers.
Sure.
I mean, you only got, with compensatory picks, you might have 35 to 40, picks in the 6th or 7th round, maybe as much as 42, with compensatory picks. But you got umpteen guys that are signed. I mean, you may sign, 6 or 7 linemen, so it's just percentage-wise, you've got a better chance of those guys making it. Here's the other thing. If you've got a good agent and the agent does their job well, you can convince a undrafted free agent that, this is the best place for you to come, my team, because a good agent's going to have the roster and the depth chart of every team in the league, so they're going to know where their best chance of making a team. So in other words, I tell players all the time, look, you can get 5,000, 10,000 more from the other guy. You go ahead and get it. But we've got a better chance of making our roster. You know what the 2-year superseded contract for an undrafted free agent is? That's $357,000. So if you want to, haggle over 5,000, go ahead. We're giving you the best chance, and obviously that's where the recruiting part comes in to kind of show them why you would be a good fit. And the agent needs to help the player to understand that. And obviously they've got multiple teams talking to them, so they're trying to get the best of both worlds.
Let's go back to the top of the draft. Looks like, there's no doubt Caleb Williams is going to, unless something weird happens, and we know that we have seen some weird stuff before, he will come off the board at number 1. After full evaluation, is, in your mind, he the best quarterback in this draft? Is that the best move for Chicago that they will likely make?
Well, I think it's what they're going to make. Here's what I would say. I think the guy's upside is tremendous. I think he has a lot of natural ability. I have said that I'm a little bit more concerned about him. Not saying he's going to end up being a problem, but you're dealing with someone that comes across to me as very entitled, that he maybe is a little bit more me than we. And so I worry a little bit about there's maybe a potential that, I don't know that I call it a bust factor, but maybe he might not be the best locker room guy. Now, part of that is just accepting today's world. We are very new into the NIL world. And, so a guy like Caleb Williams probably has made as much money at USC than he likely will in his first rookie contract, believe it or not. So these guys have a different way of looking at it. So is he just kind of a little bit of a turnoff, or is that just going to be the way of the modern world? Obviously, that's what you have to decide if you're Chicago, and obviously they have decided they're very comfortable with it.
Chris Landry talking NFL Draft, Monday edition of the program. Find him on X at Landry Football, also LandryFootball.com. Chris, I'll come back to a couple quarterbacks here in a minute. I want to ask you about the receivers. Obviously, Marvin Harrison Jr., he is projected to come off the board as the first receiver. We'll see what happens. Malik Neighbors right there as well. Rome Odunze. Who in your mind is the best receiver in this draft?
I think Marvin Harrison is great. I think Malik Neighbors is great. I think they're on the very top line. And I am comfortable going either direction of how to stack them, but the same grade. I think Romeo Odunze is also in that same group. I'd put him third in that group, but I think all three are going in the top half dozen picks. At least 7 or 8. I mean, I think there's a couple of – I don't see the scenario where let's just say top 10. I'm very comfortable in saying those guys are definitely coming off the board.
And before we go to break, Brock Bowers, when you look at him, obviously it looks like he will be a possibly top 10 pick, depending on what you look at. I mean, anywhere from the Jets to the Chargers and some others. Your thoughts on his ability at this level?
I think he's got I hate to throw this name around because people will hear it and say, oh, this guy's going to be the next. But he's got Travis Kelce ability. He's got the ability to make plays as a weapon, as not a tight end, but a weapon that can line up in different spots formationally and can be a big guy. I think he is, people say he's a luxury pick. I think he's a weapon, and I think you have to put him more in the line of the big receiver, the flex guy, the flex tight end guy, but could also do some things in line. No, I think to me, his ability puts him in the category of the Kittles, of, the Kelce's. I think he has that type of ability. It may take him a little while to get there, but I think he's special.
Chris Landry on your radio. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll carry on with the draft as we talk more draft. It is draft week. We're brought to you by Capital Orthopedic. Online at capitalortho.com, located in Flowood, Madison, Clinton, Brookhaven, Hazelhurst, and Kosciuszko. Move better, be better with Capital Orthopedic. You can also grab appointments by calling 601-987-8200. Back in a bit.
It's time to get
Back in the game
with Jake Wimberly and the Afternoon Drive.
That's entertainment.
On the station that specializes in the Mississippi sports you love.
Now we're talking.
Live and local on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Sound Communications, online at soundcomav.com. They've been around since 1955. Collaborate, design, and build. Let them help you in your workspace with a lot of great stuff going on. You can find more information at soundcomav.com. Great information at LandryFootball.com. Also, Landry Football on X. It is Chris Landry. Segment 2 is we're talking NFL draft. Chris, when you look at we've talked to J.J. McCarthy, but we haven't really talked a lot about Drake May. What is your thoughts on Drake May? I mean, he's slotted by the quote-unquote experts anywhere from 2, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that first hour of the draft to go off the board.
He's got tremendous physical gifts, which has impressed a lot of folks. Some people will look at him and say he could be the Justin Herbert of this draft with the physical gifts. I'm not quite sure I'd put him right in that category, but I see where a lot of people in the league see him that way. There's some people, not a lot, but there's some personnel people in the league that think he's the best quarterback in this draft. I think people have anywhere from mostly 2 or 3 on their board, with is how most people see him. But, again, some have him 1, and probably I would say 50-50 between Daniels and May. In terms of how people see him. Yeah, he's going to go very high. And I wonder where I think the team to watch, I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. How the first 2 come off, it could be the first 2 quarterbacks come off. It could be Williams and Daniels. And then something like Minnesota trade up. Why do they need it? I think that'll be interesting to see, but there's no question about it.
Chris Landry talking NFL Draft, Monday edition of the program. Chris, let me ask you about Bo Nix. He's not listed, at least on a lot of mock drafts, as a first-round guy, probably off the board in 2nd or 3rd round. How far off he is from some of these other guys?
I think he's one of those guys that have 2nd-round grades by most people, but don't be surprised. Let's say Denver certainly is in need of a quarterback. It does not appear that they're going to be in a position to move up high enough to get him, one of the top guys. Would they consider taking Bo Nix? Would they move down a little bit? And here's the thing about it. Don't rule him out in the 1st round because if you wait to the 2nd round, at the end of the first night, you give teams a chance that might be interested to move up ahead of you. That's the first thing. And two, if you draft a quarterback, even if you got a second-round grade, if you draft them in the first round, you got the fifth-year option, which is important for all players, even more so with a quarterback. So I would not rule him out going in the first round. I think it has to be obviously the right team. Denver comes to mind as somebody that, I don't know, Sean Payton might like. We'll see.
Speaking of Denver, Zach Wilson headed to Denver. Any chance that Sean Payton can reboot this young man's career?
Look, I never say never. I think Zach obviously was overdrafted. He was drafted on potential, and he didn't have enough production. He needs to be rebuilt. I mean, the confidence is low, and this is a new change of pace. Guys like that are going to be given chances. Look, it's a quarterback-needy team. He's got some starts. I know because it hasn't been good. People say, well, it doesn't matter. It does matter. I mean, certainly the experience will help him, and I'm curious to see what he's able to do with Zach, if anything.
Let's shift over and talk a little college. I've got a couple questions there while I've got you for a few more minutes here. Chris Landry on the radio with you talking NFL Draft, college football, Monday edition of the program. Find him on X at Landry Football, also LandryFootball.com. All right, so a lot of buzz around Arch Manning and his spring game. Now, I know a spring game is just a spring game, but he looks bigger. He looks like the ball's coming out even quicker than what it was a year ago. Obviously with Quinn Ewers still there, it looks like, being the way, kind of the Manning model, shall we say, that he's going to wait his time there at Texas. What do you see when you see Arch Manning throw the football and, of course, his game?
Got a lot of natural ability. He moves better than his uncles. He reminds me more of his granddad, of how he moves. Obviously most of what I've seen him coming out of high school. So his ability to throw on the move, his natural arm talent, I think obviously he's got the pedigree that you've alluded to that gives him an opportunity to maybe see the game at an earlier age differently than others. So, yeah, I'm excited to see. That is a very good quarterback room and kind of got the right attitude, not the prima donna, approach, but, hey, buy your time. And, I'm sure it's going to be a competition. Ewers is the guy to beat out. I don't know if he can be beaten out with his experience, but looks like they have set them up well. And I think when in the recruiting process, the whole family really bought into how Steve Sarkisian teaches. And so I think that's a big part of he's just happy being in that environment. And he's seeing the end game of, look, he doesn't have to start 4 years. He's when his time comes, he's going to play, get experience, and he's certainly in great position with NIL money to not have to be worried about getting into the league sooner.
And let's wrap it up. One more college quarterback. Cam Ward down at the University of Miami, of course. It's a big year for the Hurricanes. It's a big year for Mario Cristobal, especially with what they've done talent-wise. They need to be, I would think, right in the mix for the ACC championship. He has just underperformed vastly down there at Miami. But when you look at the quarterback he's bringing in from Washington State via, Incarnate Word to start out with, or Ward to start out with, what do you see when you see this young man? Because he was a guy who was flirting with the NFL.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, he decided to come out, pulled his name out, and then because of the NIL deals, this is a better deal, and it makes sense. The guy's been very productive. Comes from a lot of spread systems, spread concepts, gets the ball out quickly. I'm excited to see what he can do. They need consistency at quarterback. If you think about Miami, there's still some pretty good athletes, but they have shot themselves in the foot in big games, mainly due to poor quarterback play that's hurt them. If they get good quarterback play, could Miami surprise? We know that under Mario, that team has been very inconsistent. We know the disaster that was the Georgia Tech game and so on and so forth, but I like this quarterback. This is an experienced guy that they're not having to develop, but that they can plug in and kind of naturally blend into their system.
And let's finish it up with Mississippi State. I don't know if you got a chance to check out their spring game. Now, obviously, again, it is a spring game, but Blake Shapen comes over from Baylor and looked the part over the weekend, at least in a spring game format. But I think for Jeff Lebby and Mississippi State fans, a breath of fresh air to see some points scored, even if it isn't a spring game.
Look, I mean, I'd be very surprised if they don't start scoring points, because that's what Jeff does. He'll get there with tempo. It'll take him a while to get all the pieces in there. But, yeah, I think Blake is a talented guy. You mentioned from Baylor, another one of those guys that kind of thrown around and I think has got a lot of natural ability to be able to have a lot of success. So I'm very excited to see what he can do for them. And, yeah, I expect it to look a lot different. I mean, I don't know how many points. There'll be more points, and it'll look a little different than it did last year, that's for sure.
Make sure to find him on X at Landry Football, LandryFootball.com. Chris, appreciate your time as always. Have a great week. We'll do it again next week.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you as always.
Thanks so much. Chris Landry on your radio. Brought to you by BCI. Go to BCIPeople.com, 601-427-4185. Begin your protection plan today. They are your network knight in shining armor. Let them help you stay up to speed and up to date on everything in your business. Back in a bit.
Ladies and gentlemen,
the time has come to go
Back to the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly. With the hottest sports stories of the day.
for one of those moments, it only happens
right here.
On ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at The Zone 1059.com.
Appreciate Chris Landry, as always, jumping in on Mondays, 4 to 4:30 right here on The Zone. All right, we're brought to you by Went McGee. He is the mortgage man, 601-906-7074. Head over to the website, mortgagemanms.com. All your mortgage needs, and a reminder, regardless of your buying experience, when you choose the Bank of England mortgage, you're eligible for a no-cost refinance when rates improve even more. All right, it's just the rest of the way. It's you guys and us. Let's see, unnamed texter, you can text us on the Cowboy Maloney's text line, 601-885-3776. Your show is very informative. Thanks for all the updates. You're welcome. Chris Brooks probably sent that, I would assume, and from a different number. We'll pay him in Popeye's chicken. Have you talked to Chris lately? How is Chris doing? Do we even know? See, all about baseball right now. Baseball playoffs. He's got his youngest son, hanging out over there with Miko's kid. They're just running ships over there, running the ship over there at Northwest Rankin. So I guess that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Do you think Miko and Chris are privately trying to take over Flowwood?
It sounds likely.
I could see that. One of them's going to run for mayor of North Brandon. The other one will be like some big alderman, something like that. All right, let's jump into some of this other stuff that's out there. Miami, that would be the Miami Hurricanes, credits Mario Cristobal with $22.7 million in total pay for the 2022 calendar year. This is, I never saw this coming. Miami credited Mario Cristobal with over $20 million in total pay for the 2022 calendar year, according to Brent Schrotenboer of USA Today. It was a massive amount of money that included nearly $8 million in his base pay. The rest of the money was, quote, other reportable compensation, according to the report. Want to know how big this is for Cristobal? It's the largest single-year amount in history. Quote, the University of Miami paid Florida football coach Mario Cristobal $22.7 million in 2022, including $7.7 million in base pay, $14.9 million in other reportable compensation, according to the federal tax return form released by the university Tuesday to USA Today Sports. Schrotenboer wrote. Can you believe this?
No, I couldn't even believe it to begin with. And then I had to, because I don't commit to memory Miami football seasons. I couldn't even remember the record. 5-7? That's what you got for $22 million? In 2022, he was 5-7. I completely forgot about that.
And this is a man that's won game over 500 in his career as a head coach. One game. He has one game over 500.
And that was just last season. Last season he was 7-6.
It's wild.
His is mind-blowing.
Goes on to say this is the largest ever single-year amount for an athletics department employee on a tax form by a private university, according to USA Today Sports Research. The university did not go into further details as to why he was paid that much, except that it paid, quote, gross up payments to Cristobal and others, payments that cover income taxes so that the recipient receives a set amount of pay. According to Schrotenboer, the $14.9 million in, quote, other pay is believed to cover the $9 million in buyout money owed to Oregon when Cristobal came to the East Coast. Quote, by comparison, the highest single year of pay for a private university president was only slightly more than $22.8 million for former University of Pennsylvania President Amy Gutmann in 2021, according to data from the Chronicle of Higher Education. Schrotenboer wrote, but about 89% of that came from deferred compensation set aside over the course of her 18-year tenure, the Chronicle reported. Private universities are not required to disclose employment contracts such as Cristobal's deal under the public records law, but they must file a tax return as a nonprofit. Quote, the high pay also means the university will take a tax hit in the form of 21% excise tax on compensation above $1 million. This is just wild that Cristobal got paid that much money. And like you said, to go, 5-7 last year? Now, I have them winning the ACC this year. I don't feel any good about it at all. I don't feel good about it at all. But they play one of the weakest schedules in the country. It is very loose. Very, very loose. They've got a ton of talent. They've got a quarterback who we talked about with Chris Landry, Cam Ward, who is very well could be the number one quarterback off the board in the next year's draft. So, I mean, this is it for Cristobal, right? It's got to be. I mean, that is unbelievable as far as contract size and what they paid him. Grizz. Doubt y'all have discussed this, but Tennessee added another all-time name to the wide receiver room to go with Squirrel, Bruh, and Chaz. Rodarius Jackson chose the Vols over State, Ole Miss, and Auburn. I do want to come back to that. Yeah, because Tennessee is right now, they are developing an all-world, all-time name team as far as their wide receiver room. We'll go back into that in a bit. Let's go to Gator Matt. Matt, welcome in. How are you?
So, Mario, what is he, like the Trump of college athletics?
I guess so.
$22 million.
Yeah.
One win over 500.
Can you believe it?
I mean, even Billy Napier is shaking his head at that. Guess what? He doesn't have to pay any state income tax. Good for him. Where have you been?
Oh, I've been here.
You were here last week.
I mean, I was at work. There were several things inside here. That's across the hall. It was a bunch
not
of
on air.
Corporate mumbo jumbo.
You're like one of those people who says they work, quote, remotely. And guess what? They're sitting on the couch in their underwear watching reruns of Hee Haw. That's what you were doing.
A Hee Haw reference. That's fantastic. I haven't heard of that show in a long time.
Not why I called. Because all your sports, I mean, this is a sports show. But what we all really want to know is what's your favorite song on the new Taylor Swift album?
Let me break that down.
Have you not listened to it? What do you think?
I haven't. Beaver, have you listened to this new album?
You know Beaver's got it.
He's laughing over here. So he's going to have.
Out of here.
All right, see you. So tell me about this new album. Is it good?
Okay. So this one was a little different because this one I actually, I like to know what's going on. I like to know at least what these new Swiftie albums sound like. I like to keep up with the pop culture and whatnot, but I listened to half of the first song. That's it. I can't do it. Now, I've read plenty of albums. I've read plenty of album reviews, plenty of articles over the weekend, and The half of a song I did hear, by the way, it's just the same. It's just the same old, same old, same old. And then when I read things like, let's see, what was some of the choice lyrics? There's some song that says, "You touch me while your bros play Grand Theft Auto." There's another song with some fantastic lyrics like, "I'm watching American Pie with you on a Saturday night. All your friends are around, so you've got to be quiet." Those words don't rhyme. Night and quiet don't rhyme.
No.
This is pitiful. Like that, her massive, massive tune that all these Swifties love, Anti-Hero, 2 years ago, infuriated me because this girl rhymed anti-hero with mirror. Oh, by the way, this is why these sad little 14-year-old Swifties, because it broke a record Friday for the most streamed album of all time, 330 million streams in one day. Oh, also, let's talk about how she puts out a regular version at midnight, and then at 2 a.m. releases the same album with 15 additional tracks, because that's what we need in the world. So, what you're doing now, you're releasing all this extra garbage just for streams. It's not about putting out any sort of quality music. It's just about getting streams and getting these children to convince their parents, buy me this album. There's 5 different versions of it. Oh, well, are they different? No, it's just the vinyl is different colors. There's one blue, there's one green, there's one red. Mom, I need them all.
Really? So they're duping the public?
Mm-hmm.
In the name of sales?
Yeah.
Told you she's no good. Are you still on board? Are you still a fan?
I'm never a fan. You've been mischaracterizing me for years now.
601-885-3776. We'll get your text in when we get back from the break. Got to take a time out. We're brought to you by Premier Plastic Surgery. Some of you have gone by and seen Dr. Erica Bass. The rest of you, well, if you need it, it's there. That is the Awake Liposuction. Could help you get the answer you need this coming up summer as you head towards the summer and get out and about. Call 601-981-2525 to set up an appointment today. Back in a bit.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. And welcome back to the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's talking about anything and everything that's Mississippi sports.
No, great afternoon.
Right here on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online worldwide on The Zone 1059.com.
Brought to you by the Westin in Jackson. Get down and have a breakfast, lunch, or dinner at Estelle Southern Table. I was down there this past Friday. Really, really good stuff at Estelle Southern Table. 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. You can make reservations by going to westinjackson.com or call 769-235-8400. Also, experience Soul Spa. And, of course, if you just need a place to stay, conference rooms, board meetings, anything you got, do it at the Westin Jackson. Go to westinjackson.com. All right, let me get caught up over here on the text line. We're also brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Get out and play today. Where did I go here? Oh, yeah, this all-name team. So what do you think about this? Radarius Jackson. Now we got another one coming in. All-name team, Tennessee football.
Oh, man, old nefarious Radarius. Yeah, this is getting Radarius. Our other one was Brew, or Bro. What? Oh, real name Brew, but we call him Bro. I'm just glad Grizz, because remember, he tried to bring us down. Tried to say, no, it's not bruh. We know it's not bruh, but it's what we want it to be.
That's right.
So he's on board now. So that's what I like about it most.
I mean, just imagine, like, the play-by-play on this. Ali Amaleva finds bruh or squirrel or Redarius. I mean, this is going to be really, really good. How do you say that quarterback's name? Iama Aliava?
Oh, you're getting closer. Ia Maliava.
Ia Maliava. Yeah. Ia Maliava. Ia Amaleva. We're just going to say it all kinds of different ways. Is that okay? Can we do that?
Yeah, bro.
I like the way you did that. Let's see here. Yeah, Nico to radar, as Chris said. This is going to be so good. Let's see here. Churro. Let's just hope Swift never does a halftime show with Timberlake. What would that be like?
Bill, I don't like to think about that.
What is Timberlake doing nowadays? Is he doing anything?
I feel like he came out with some sort of album. He was doing one of these things where, oh, you know what? I really want to shift my career to really show what a true artist I am. I don't know. Last thing I saw about him, he was in hot water with his wife because Britney Spears told secrets on him from 20 years ago.
Red's Dog, that is a heck of a news report there coming out of Penn University. Ernest T. Believe me, the moms are all in on this Swiftie crap because their little princess has got to have it. Nosebleed tickets at her shows are over a grand. $1,000 for one ticket. Ridiculous. It is. Because I think you looked at them, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
And I've looked at them because, and that's what I hate about the little ones. They just don't get it. 10, 11, 12, little girls. Let's go see Taylor Swift. Well, we'd have to fork a loan to go see this.
Yeah, if I remember right, the resale I saw on Ticketmaster, and this was months and months ago, for a New Orleans, she's coming to New Orleans in October, and the resale was $1,400 and something a ticket.
Do you think she is a good human being?
I keep hearing reports that she really is, but I just keep hearing these stories that are just contrary to that.
So she'll never do this. But if she really wanted to, now she's already got a massive following, but like if she really wanted to own the world stage, like really own it, what if she cut her ticket prices on purpose in half? So all these little girls could come see her and their families. Wouldn't that make her like the Beatles? I mean, iconic for generations to come. She'll never do it. It's just a thought. $1,000 for a Taylor Swift ticket. Pfft. Unnamed texter. Are y'all going to see Seether and Stained concert tonight? I am not. It is Monday. I would like to have gotten out of there. Are you going to that concert tonight? Let's see here. Let's go back to Gator Matt. Matt, welcome in.
Jay, something you need to understand. You keep saying, like, doing it to the little kid. Jake, probably 75, 80, probably 90% of the people at these concerts are our age.
Really?
I'm serious.
Beaver's shaking in agreement.
It's my wife. Look, Jake, I almost pulled the trigger. I was about to. It ended up being a scam. But Jake, I'll admit it, and you can bash me when I get off the phone. But I was about to fork up for 4 tickets. They wanted $1,600, but I whittled them down to 12, and I was about to pay $1,200 for 4 tickets.
Wow.
For New Orleans. But I'm telling you, it's Cougar City, man. I'm telling you, if you get divorced again, we'll see you at the next Taylor Swift concert.
Thanks, Matt. Touche. Very well done. Oh man, that was good. Yes, Matt. Of course you will. Let's see, Grizz. Yeah, we got the Nico to radar in. Churro. That was a reference to the wardrobe malfunction. Oh well, that was the Janet Jackson Timberlake deal, but
yeah. Oh, Churro, I knew immediately what you were going for, but I just wondered why would it be Why would that be a terrible thing?
Well, it's bad for the TV executives, for sure.
Well, they just blamed it all on Janet Jackson anyway.
That is true. All right, let's see here. Hour 3 coming up. Let me tell you what we're going to get into. A couple things out here. We'll get into some of these projections for some of these athletes this week in the draft as far as potential guys that could become pros, MVP-type caliber guys. Also, we'll get into this Dak Prescott story. And NCAA stuck in a quagmire of its own making with this latest NIL mess and how the new college football playoff format came to be and what it means for the sport's future. Several other things to get into. University of Memphis. Shout out Sean C. Memphis. FedEx to fund $25 million for Memphis' NIL. How about that? Memphis Tigers trying to play ball. We're brought to you by our friends at Janny King. Go to JannyKingCleans.com for more information. Back in a bit.
WRKS Pickens Jackson, where it's
Time
to take a ride. Yes, we're back with Jake Wimberly on the afternoon drive. It's live, it's local, and it's on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Hour 3 on your radio. Starts it right now. 5050 I-55 North Sweet F. That's Capital Grill. Get out and enjoy Capital Grill. Grab a beverage, relax, forget about the workday. Michelob Ultra Bud Light, courtesy of Southern Beverage. Please drink responsibly. Grab a meal, a game of pool, an appetizer, 18 TVs to get your sports coverage as well. You can do that at Capital Grill in Jackson. Make sure to find them on Facebook.com/Capital Grill of Jackson. Also, CapitalGrillofJackson.com. We're also brought to you by Malone Roofing Services. ECMalone.com is their website. 8337 Malone, commercial, residential roofing done right with Malone Roofing Services. And we're brought to you by Maristar Casino. Get out and play today. You know, I don't think, and of course, catching you up if you just joined us, David Murray joined us hour number 1 talking Mississippi State as Dogs had a spring game this weekend. Blake Shapen, looked the part in a spring game, throwing some touchdown passes. That's not a lot of what happened last year in Starkville. Chris Landry joined us 4 to 4:30 talking NFL draft. Of course, a lot of NFL draft coverage. Draft starts on Thursday. How much of this draft you going to watch? How much do you watch? I mean, I know everybody's dialed in like night 1, but then are you dialed in the second night and then Saturday?
Well, night 1 is until Friday.
Or Friday, excuse me.
Psych. That's the WWE draft. Starts Friday.
Why are you playing with my mind today? I was going to say, when did the draft change to Friday?
They are literally doing a WWE draft, and they are doing it to play specifically during the NFL draft to catch. Well, how did they, to ride the wave of the NFL draft? These sports are not the same. I'm sorry, I use sport loosely. We're talking about wrestling, but anyway,
I didn't even know that wrestling did a draft.
Yeah,
I thought wrestlers just poof popped up out of nowhere.
Well, this is how they'll draft a wrestler from Raw to SmackDown, from SmackDown to Raw. It's how they change up their roster. So you're watching different people.
Really? So do they have like rookies, like draft them out of some gym, some league, like with the 47th pick, Raw picks XYZ wrestler from the gym out in Mendenhall? I mean, how do they do this? It's just so confusing to me all of a sudden.
Yeah, they have their farm system called NXT.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, let's get back to the actual draft.
The NFL draft.
How much will I watch? Yeah, I always watch almost just about every minute of the first round. Thursday night, I'll watch the whole thing. Or, as long as Ambi allows me
to
watch it. But I'll watch almost the full thing. Now Friday it starts at 6:00, and I'm still here. We're both still here.
Yep.
Although you duck out like 6:01. So, but no, I'll keep up with it. But generally on Friday, I maybe watch 10, 15 minutes of it. And then Sunday, I don't watch it at all on Saturday. See, now you're messing with my mind. I'm going back. We made this switch in 2009. It hasn't been on Sunday since 2008.
Yeah.
And I just put it back there, apparently.
Yeah, because they cut the draft.
Yeah.
Down. You're right.
Saturday, I'm sorry. But anyway, Saturday, I generally don't watch.
It's fast. Saturday's so fast. It just flies through. I mean, you can literally, if you're trying to watch the draft at the house or whatever and you leave and do something for 15 minutes, you're going to miss like 27 picks. So, I mean, it's really hard to keep up with unless you're just sitting there watching it. Let's see here. Res Dog. You can text us 601-885-3776. Blake Shapen is the best quarterback in the state. Do you, are we fixing to start getting the Blake Shapen campaign for Heisman or something?
What it sounds like.
Is he better?
Res Dog starting it.
Better than Jackson Dart?
And Res Dog. Res Dog, come on. What are you doing over here? I don't know. Not yet, because I haven't seen him. I didn't watch the kid at Baylor.
No, he's not better than Jackson Dart.
No,
not at all. But look, he's a guy that can play in this system. Chris Landry talked about it. That can put points on the board. And if you're Mississippi State, you got to get those points up. And if you go back and look, last year for Mississippi State, now obviously it's a totally new team. It's a totally new coaching staff. I mean, when I say a totally new team, it's literally 4 starters back. I mean, that is a totally new team for Mississippi State. I mean, you're talking about they averaged 22 points a game, and it didn't even feel like that. Did it feel like they even averaged 22 points a game?
No, it seemed far worse.
Well, they scored 48 last year against Southeastern Louisiana, and they scored 41 against Western Michigan. So, I mean, you take those two and 41 against Southern Miss. So you take those 40 spots off the board, and that's going to come way down. I mean, they did put 31 on the board against Arizona, but in Southeastern Conference play last year, they put 14 on the board against LSU, 30 against South Carolina, 17 against Alabama, 7 against Arkansas, 13 against Auburn, 3 against Kentucky, 10 against Texas A&M, 7 against Ole Miss. That's not good. I mean, that's very, very bad. So they want that number to come up drastically. Tiger Bait. Arch Manning showed out in the spring game. Say it again for those in the back there, Tiger Bait. Say it again for those in the back. Arch Manning. I told you it's inevitable.
Tiger Bait. Okay, real quick. The iPhone, it does have a function where you can unsend a text like within 2 minutes. Please unsend that. Don't get this dude started on Arch Manning again. And by this dude, I mean Jacob Wimberly.
I am so excited to see Arch Manning play. It's going to be fun.
He's not going to play this year.
He said he's an Android guy.
Oh.
So I don't think they have that option. I don't know that to be true. Maybe they don't. So, and that's okay, though. I love that text. No, Arch Manning he'll play some maybe this year, but, I mean, he's going to buy his time. It's what the Mannings do, right? Eli bought his time. I mean, Peyton got thrust into action due to injury in front of him. But we'll see. All right, let me get into some of these other stories out here. Deion Sanders, Ryan Day among college football coaches facing the most pressure to win entering the 2024 season. From title contenders to rebuilders, these coaches here are, on this piece, are under major pressure to produce. Sheehan, and I can never remember his last name. We're calling him Jay. Sheehan Jay from CBSSports.com. All right, so when you look at Ryan Day, and we've talked about this, now that the second window is open, spring practice is finishing up, rosters are pretty much being finalized. And for the most part, they're already there. I mean, you're going to see some additions. Ole Miss picks up a running back over the weekend. Miami picks up a running back. You'll see, Auburn picks up a defensive lineman. You're going to see stuff like that. But Ryan Day is, without a doubt, under the most pressure in college football this year, Ohio State. And when you look at what Michigan was able to accomplish this past year, winning a national title, they have beaten now Ohio State 3 straight years. It is, I mean, I don't want to say it's national championship or bust, but it better be national championship appearance or bust for Ryan Day. I mean, that's literally what he's at. Billy Napier, we know this. He's on the hot seat. So let me ask you this. Let's play this game. Ryan Day, is he back in 25 or is he gone? percentage of a chance he is back at Ohio State next year?
I think common sense will take over when they go 10-2, 11-1. But they'll likely beat Michigan this year, and that's apparently all they want. I know they say step 1, beat Michigan, step 2, national championship. No, because you're calling a coach. You've been questioning your own coach who's lost 8 games in his Ohio State career. So that's not common sense. Clearly, he's only lost 8 games, but it just so happens that, 3 in a row now to Michigan?
Yeah.
Is that right? Just so happens that 3 have been to Michigan, so you're losing your brain. So, yeah, they'll beat Michigan this year. They'll be like 10-2, 11-1. Common sense will take over. And, yes, I say 71% he'll be back next year. Or 25.
56-8 is his coaching record. Think about that. 56-8. But now I think I've got them going out in the Final Four of the playoff. I think they get to the playoff. I think they'll probably win the Big Ten. They're going to get beat in the Final Four of the playoff. I don't think they make the national championship game. That's just me. I would have him back as well. Let's do one more real quick before we take a timeout. All right, how about let's see, where? There we go. Billy Napier. Chance he's going to be back next year. 2025. Florida football head coach.
32%.
I think it's way below 50. Way below 50. I just don't see. And again, you got to play the schedule that you dealt, and this is arguably the toughest schedule ever produced in college football. Literally, it's right there. I don't think I've ever seen this. Your bookend with Miami and Florida State, 2 out-of-front conference teams, and you're playing Central Florida that very well could beat you this year, 100%. So, and of course, you got your normal SEC rugged road matches as well. Let's see here. Res Dog. What seed will shape and have Mississippi State in the playoffs? I like this. Let me think about that over the break, and we'll come back to that. We're brought to you by A1 Gear and Auto, your hometown vehicle specialist. Anything under the hood, front end to back, 601-939-1060. Let A1 help you with your vehicle today. Back in a bit.
Okay, we're back. I'm ready. It's more of the afternoon drive with Jake Wimberly, where he's live and local on Jackson Sports Authority, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, and online at thezone1059.com.
Brought to you by our friends at Bailey Lumber. It is the afternoon drive. Go to BaileyLumber.com for more information. Located at 2150 Mississippi Highway 471 in Brandon. Open Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Let them help you with your lumber, supplies, windows, doors, roofing, hardware, everything you need. GAF Roofing Specials, also legacy cabinets and more. Need drywall, they got you covered there too. That's BaileyLumber.com. We're also brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Get out and play. 4 great restaurants to serve you at Ameristar. You can check out the Red Lotus on the bottom floor down there by the sports book across the building. You can also get in at Bella's on the second level. Also, third floor, you got the Heritage Restaurant or Heritage Buffet, and you got bourbons on the roof. Let's go to Space Ghost on line 1. Space Ghost, happy Monday.
Not your cousin's trivia on Tuesdays. Not your auntie's bingo on Wednesdays. Kids eat free on Thursdays.
I don't know what happened. 601-897-1059.
Oh, my God.
What is he doing?
I think it's clear what he was doing. He was trying to live up to that loose spot from earlier.
Oh, gosh.
And you basically just knocked him out.
I love that guy. Let's see. Res Dog, where will Mississippi State be in the playoffs?
With Shapen? I mean, Res Dog. Anything less than a 2 seed with a dynamite player like Shapen, I'd be shocked.
It's got to be a 2 seed. So, Billy Napier, you gave a 33% chance to come back.
32.
32. What about Lincoln Riley? Sky, USC, vastly has underperformed. They're going to the Big Ten now. Supposedly have another all-world quarterback waiting in the wings. Will he be back next year?
Yeah, I don't think he's in any danger. Caleb Williams' production last year went down. I get that. There was almost no defense. Defense was terrible. But no, USC, the money they're giving him, the past success, the name Lincoln Riley, the quote-unquote quarterback whisperer. Should we put that on the list, by the way, overused phrases?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I'll put that on the list.
So I don't think he's in any danger. 100%. I think he'll be back.
Even if they go like 8-5?
Yeah.
I'd say 90% chance. 90% chance that he comes back. I'm not shocked, but I'm shocked he's on this list. Kalen DeBoer, Alabama. Will he be back in 2025?
Yes. Come on, he hasn't even coached a game.
But, I mean, that's going to be the thing. I mean, the first time he loses.
Oh, yeah. It's going to yeah, we've anticipated this ever since, actually before Nick Saban retired, because there was always the phrase, which you repeated a bunch, you don't want to be the guy following the guy.
Never.
Now we know the guy following the guy is DeBoer. But
I like the way I don't know that I've ever heard you speak in like a redneck tone, but you just did.
DeBoer.
Is that what they're calling him over there?
I like to think so.
I would think that. How did you say that again? DeBoer.
DeBoer.
You know they are. You know that they are. There is a segment of that population, of that fan base, that's 100% pronouncing that name that way.
You know who's pronouncing it that way? Cattleman. And not on purpose either. It's just what do you think about this DeBoer?
Yeah, I'm sure that somewhere out there he is doing that. 100% chance he comes back?
Yeah.
Just they put him on the list. Mario Cristobal, Miami.
Too much money wrapped up.
I mean, look, they should win 10 ball games. They should be in the playoff. They really should. There is no excuse for the University of Miami to miss this playoff. Again, let me just tell you this gargantuan schedule that the Miami football Hurricanes have. Now, they open up at Florida. They are a favorite. They will be a favorite in that ball game. They shouldn't lose that game, but if Florida wins that game, the hot seat's going to start. But then after that, Florida A&M, Ball State, at South Florida. Now, that's a game that you don't want to go in there half-cocked. A lot of people feel like South Florida is going to make they're going to make a run at the AAC championship. Virginia Tech, at Cal, bye week, at Louisville. Florida State, Duke, at Georgia Tech, Wake Forest, after bye week in Syracuse.
What a horrible schedule.
They should win 10 ball games.
I mean, Virginia Tech, maybe kind of some sort of threat, possibly.
They got a good quarterback for sure. And I don't want to say they've turned the cornerback the other way. This will be a better Virginia Tech team than they've had over the last several years.
And are they going to Cal?
Yes.
Maybe Cal could scare them. I don't think Cal would win that game, but possibly scare them.
You're onto something. Talent-wise, quarterback-wise, everything, this should be a team that runs the schedule. Honestly, they should. They should run this schedule. 12-0, 100%. Top quarterback in next year's class, at least on paper. The best talent in the ACC, except for Florida State, better than Clemson. They don't play Clemson. They do host Florida State. But I could see if Mario Cristobal does this Mario Cristobal thing, they'll lose to Florida. They'll lose at South Florida. They'll lose at California. And they'll lose to Florida State and probably go 7-5. That's literally the Mario Cristobal way. Let's see here. The real unnamed texter. He pulls an Ellis Johnson, then gone. Oh, is he talking about DeBoer? Dexter, I'm a 40-year-old Kane. No excuses. Get it done. I agree with you, Dexter, 100%. 100%. I mean, this is at least, I think Miami should win the ACC. I have them projected to win the ACC. They should be in that playoff. They should get a bye and be in the playoff. It's what they should be. Now, after that, roll the hat out and see what happens. Johnny Vegas. Ole Miss wins the Natty. How much money do you think will be bet in the state on Ole Miss to win the national title? We already know Reddy Teddy's going to do it, if he hadn't done it already. What do you see out there?
Hold on. You know, I always like to look at when I can see the text history.
Yeah.
All right, Johnny Vegas, what's happening here? So his last text came on February 19th. First off, where have you been? But the last text says it's the Razorbacks' year. But then here we are 2 months later, and now it's Ole Miss.
Maybe it's the transfer portal has swayed him.
Okay.
And, well, we knew by February 19th that KJ Jefferson was not coming back to Arkansas, that he was off and running. 601-885-3776, unnamed texter. Texas will win it all this year, or will win it this year. I have Texas in the national championship game. I have them losing to Oregon. I have Oregon winning the national title, beating Texas. But I could see a scenario. Here's the thing. I really think it is this close. It's razor thin at the top. I could make a case for Georgia to win it, Texas to win it, Oregon and Ohio State. Outside of those four, I don't know that Ole Miss is going to be good enough to play and beat those teams. I think Ole Miss is in the playoff. But do you think it's razor thin at the top of those four? Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oregon.
I can absolutely see that.
100%. Now, I mean, again, it's not out of it, believe it or not. And a lot of people in this state will not want to look this in the face and see it. Ole Miss is not far off those teams. I could see Ole Miss making the Final Four if the bracket is right and the matchup is right. Ole Miss has to host Penn State in the first round. You think they're worried about that? At home? No. They already beat them on a neutral field last year in Georgia. And then let's say their next matchup is an undefeated or one-loss Miami team. Who you taking, Cristobal or Kiffin?
Kiffin.
They beat them on a neutral site. Ole Miss is in the Final Four. Boom. Just like that. It can happen. Let's see here. Gator Matt. Jay, don't sleep on Utah. Utah. He's never going to let me live that down, is he? Never going to let me live down Utah. Hey, we're brought to you by Mac Hike in Madison, Gluckstadt. Get that great Mac Hike feeling in Madison, Gluckstadt. And, of course, you can find them at MacHikeMadison.com. Great deals on Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chevy. New and used inventory on-site and online. Back in a bit.
This is the home of the Chuck Oliver Show every weekday from 10 till noon on Mississippi's live and local sports authority. And where? We're back to Jake Quiverly with the afternoon drive on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
We're brought to you by Ameristar Casino. Get out and play today. You can go ahead and bet on the college football playoff if you want to right now. We're also brought to you by Subway. 2 great locations on the reservoir, 317 Village Square, near Shaggy's, also 626 Grants Ferry Road. Locally owned and operated, Subway wants to help you with all your catering needs for office meetings, church functions, bunco, bingo nights, ball nights, you name it, they got it. Platters of sandwiches, cookies, and more. Swing in for lunch or dinner. That's 2 locations on the reservoir, 317 Village Square, near Shaggy's, also 626 Grants Ferry Road. Eat fresh, eat local. Subway. Make it what you want. All right, let's see here. As we're talking college football playoff, the Miami Hurricanes, Johnny Vegas has Ole Miss winning the Natty. Gator Matt says, Jay, don't sleep on Utah. Hey, look, Utah could win the Big 12 and be right in this thing, but I don't think that they have the horses here. Unnamed texter, Texas will win it this year, miss a year, and then win 2 back-to-back. Look, I don't have a problem with that projection. I think they're going to be right there. As long as they continue what they're doing right now, Steve Sarkisian and the quarterback room that they have, and continue to produce. I mean, Texas is not going anywhere. And I know there is a lot, and I say a lot, there is a contingent, and I don't particularly know what that percentage is, of Southeastern Conference fans that believe, oh, Texas is about to find out they're stepping into the conference, Southeastern Conference. Man, no. That Texas is as good as anybody in the Southeastern Conference. 100% as good as anybody in the Southeastern Conference. All right, let me see here before I get into these playoff projections for Possum Neck Joe. Let me look back over here and get you caught up on a couple other things. Again, if you missed it earlier today, let's see, Mississippi State women's basketball lands the number 1 JUCO guard in the country, an All-American, Destiny McFall. So she will play in Starkville. Also, former Pitt edge rusher Dayon Hayes is committed to Colorado. All right, so, Beav, you got 2 texts here you need to address. One says Texas will win it this year, miss a year, and then go back-to-back. That would, if that happens, that would put my inevitable statement 2 years ago on Arch Manning 100% as a fact.
How in the world? Where did we arrive at winning 3 national titles in 4 years?
Well,
I know they were regular season good last year, but that's quite the leap.
This texter has them, well, they were in the playoff this past year. They got Penixed. A lot of people got Penixed except Michigan. Michigan didn't get Penixed. They Penixed. But that would have Ewers winning it and then losing it, and then Arch Manning winning back-to-back before going to the NFL.
Oh, you know what? Text history again. This same texter, actually, March 6th, they texted, Texas will win the next 3 out of 4. Okay, I got to respect your conviction then. You've been saying that for 6 weeks. I can't see it, but.
Why not?
3 of 4?
They may. It's not likely. They may. They got as good a talent as anybody in the country. They got the best quarterback room in the country. They're going to have skill talent, and they got tons of money to burn in NIL. All right, let's see here. Possum Neck Joe. Beaver, is it just my imagination, but it seems every time I tune in, Jake is saying someone should make the playoffs. I think he's up to 43 teams. Am I up to 43 teams? Is he right?
Close to it.
Really? Well, let me tell you, and I haven't put this out yet. There's tons of stuff that you can go read on CFBHourglass.com. A lot of team pieces, individual pieces. I think there's somewhere close to 30 new team articles up there you can go read on college football projections. I have not put my playoff out. I've got Oregon winning the whole thing, but I will tell you this is the way I've got the bracket set. Now, again, this could change a number of ways, but I have Ole Miss as an 8 seed taking on Florida State, a 9 seed, in one of the first-round games, playoff game in Oxford. Now, think about what they'd be like. Ole Miss, Florida State, and Oxford. Think that place will be buzzing a little bit? My second first-round game is in Austin, Texas. Texas, 5 seed, hosts number 12 Liberty. Because Liberty will win Conference USA. They'll go undefeated, and they'll go get destroyed in Texas. I've got Oregon hosting in Eugene, number 11 Penn State. And then I've got Notre Dame hosting Tennessee. And the byes that I have the Miami Hurricanes winning the ACC with a bye. I have Central Florida. Now, again, the Big 12 is a smorgasbord. I mean, Central Florida is going to be right there. Kansas State, Utah, and Arizona. Oklahoma State will have a say. But I have Central Florida winning the Big 12 and getting a bye because they will own one of the 4 at-large bids. I have them with a bye. I have Ohio State with a bye and I have Georgia with a bye. But then in my playoff bracket, I have Ole Miss taking on Miami in the Peach Bowl. Just makes sense to me. I have Central Florida taking on Texas in the Fiesta Bowl. Ohio State taking on Oregon, a rematch for regular season, in the Rose Bowl. And I have Georgia taking on Tennessee. I have Tennessee in the playoff, knocking out Notre Dame in the first round. I mean, Nico Iamaleava. Wait, see, I did it again. Ami Olave. No. Nico to Roach and to Squirrel and to Possum Neck. I mean, all those receivers, I've got them taking on Georgia. And then I've got Miami beating Ole Miss in the second round, advancing to the Final Four. I've got Texas knocking out Central Florida, advancing to the Final Four. That would put a Cotton Bowl matchup, Miami versus Texas. And then I've got Oregon knocking Ohio State out in the second round. And then I've got Georgia defeating Tennessee, setting up an Oregon-Georgia matchup, which would be awesome. Dan Lanning taking on his old boss, Kirby Smart, Oregon, Georgia, and Miami and Texas. And then I've got, let's see, that should be, so that would move, if you use the bowl system, which they are, that would pit Cotton Bowl, Miami versus Texas, and I got Texas advancing to the national title game. And then I've got Oregon upending Georgia in the FedEx Orange Bowl. And then that gives me Oregon versus Texas in the national title game, and Oregon is your champion. That's who I've got. So, Joe, it's not 43. Let's see. Res Dog, your picks suck. Res Dog, there's plenty of room right now on the Oregon bandwagon. Tons of room. I mean, who doesn't like ducks? And I guarantee you Res Dog is a Ducks Unlimited member.
At least they're not geese. Okay, I got one big question, though. I'm surprised at one pick, and that's you said you have Miami knocking out Ole Miss. The only reason I'm surprised is because you have been pounding it in our brains how high you are on this Ole Miss team.
Well,
and we were just talking an hour ago about Cristobal nowhere near living up to expectations, being way overpaid. So I'm surprised at this.
Well, the analytics point me in that direction. I don't believe them on this. Not on Miami. But that's the matchups. I mean, Miami would be a slight favorite against Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss, Miami in the Peach Bowl in the second round would be an unbelievable matchup. I don't think Ole Miss would have they'd be right there. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Ole Miss in the Final Four against Texas, which would be really interesting. Lane Kiffin, Steve Sarkisian with a chance winner goes to the national championship game. That'd be pretty fun. Hey, we're brought to you by our friends at Ranco Transmission, 1460 Old Brandon Road in Flowood, 601-939-9184, 50-plus years, foreign and domestic transmission repair. More coming your way. One more segment. Back in a bit.
And action!
We got that and a whole lot more around here. It's the Afternoon Drive with Jake Wimberly.
What's the score?
He's got that, along with the hottest sports stories of the day on ESPN 105.9 The Zone and online at thezone1059.com.
Final segment on a Monday brought to you by Williams, Newman Williams. When you need a win, car wreck, truck accident, nursing home neglect, online at WNWlegal.com. We're also brought to you by our friends at Gutter Masters. GutterMastersLLC.com is the website. Also found them on Facebook.com/Gutter Masters. Custom gutter solutions on your home today with Gutter Masters. Let's see here. Speaking of Miami edge rusher Jaden Wayne plans to enter the transfer portal. He was a top 100 2023 recruit. All right, let's see here. Res Dog. Outside of Michigan, your picks have been looser than Morgan Wallen groupies. I'm taking the field. Now, Res Dog. Look, if you would have invested over the years in Wims winners, you would likely be on the level of like somebody that bought into Bitcoin back at $700. Back at $700. Are you, by the way, are you jumping in on this Bitcoin train now that the halvings and all this stuff is happening? And
what?
Supposedly it's fixing to skyrocket up again.
Really?
That's what they say.
Are we back on this?
Yeah.
How long has it been supposed to do this?
Well, it's been living it around. Let's just look today.
Well, you know what? While you look at that reminds me, speaking of this Morgan Wallen character, he finally, quote, broke his silence. Did you see this?
No.
Son of a bee. He made a statement. over the weekend. Meaningless, nothingness, predictable PR words. He said, he used the phrase, "I'm not proud of my behavior." Really, that's every word that everybody who ever gets in trouble says. I'm not proud of my behavior. How do you put it? I've apologized to the police because remember the name of the bar was Chiefs. I've apologized to the police and the fine people at Chiefs. Phony. Fake. PR spin. Garbage.
Yeah, I don't buy it. Did he show up for his concert last night in Oxford?
I don't know. I didn't see that.
Let's see. Bitcoin is Beaver's Market Watch. It's trending up a little bit, 1.56%. I mean, you can get one Bitcoin right now for just over $66,000. But you can buy in, pennies on the dollar if you want to.
66,000.
Mm-hmm.
But you can, so it's worth 66,000.
Well, if you owned
you
one,
can buy 66. You can buy it for 66 cents. Bro.
One Bitcoin, no, $66,000.
So if I want to buy one, I will have to pay 66,000.
Yeah, but you can buy shares of it. So I mean, if you want to put in $100 and start investing in it, if you go back and look at the 5-year trend, I mean, seriously, like Bitcoin back in, let's see here. Nope, let's don't do that. All the way back in May 10th of 2019, I mean, you were at $7,000 for a Bitcoin, one Bitcoin. And, you could get them even back further than that. But, I mean, they spiked. The spike was around 2020, late 2020, 2021, where they jumped from 13,000 to 58,000. There's people who's made real money on it. Real money, for sure.
I never hear about these people, though.
I mean, they're there.
I still don't buy a single word. You and Beastman Steve are the only two people in the world still trying to pump this trash.
No, I mean, it's a thing. So, do you think I bet ResDog owns Bitcoin.
I'm not going to put that on ResDog. He spends his money on wiser things.
Let's see here. What else is there today? Let me get so Caleb Williams puts himself on a pedestal, surprise, surprise, while discussing his attitude towards other rookie quarterbacks. Caleb Williams, as we know, is going to be selected, or at least projected right now by all accounts, the first overall pick on Thursday night's draft. There's no debate at this point in the process. It's pretty much decided. Williams will be the starting quarterback for the Chicago Bears next season or this coming year. And his anger towards Spencer Rattler explains why the organization did not leave room for an open competition. In his eyes, that is how it should be. The former USC and Oklahoma signal caller fully believes that he is the best player in the NFL draft class from top to bottom. His Heisman Trophy backs up that claim, though Jaden Daniels also has one on his resume. That doesn't matter. Williams is fully sure of himself and the abilities he has to the point that toes the line between conviction and haughtiness. On one end, it's a great thing to have the top player in the country believe in what he does. Nothing short of perfection. On the other end, he needs to be prepared for an extremely thick smoke if he struggles to make the transition to the next level. Williams' Pro Day was the perfect representation of all of this. Caleb Williams believes he is the best. And on a recent podcast, the Pivot podcast, Williams said that it was in part, let's see, what did he say here? He says, if you look at the stats, I'm the most dead center. It's just I make more highlights, and that's what they show. I make more highlights than anybody. So he's extremely confident in his abilities. He says, he continued and said that, talking about the other quarterbacks, Drake May, he says, not Daniels, not May, not J.J. McCarthy, nobody. He says, I'm the furthest from all of them in every single way. I can do anything and everything I want. What do you think about this?
Okay. So to be completely fair, he's not the first quarterback we've seen with this kind of confidence. All this confidence, you've got to have it, I guess. But I don't know how you can claim that, because the one thing I did see, and now it especially holds true for me after you tell me that he said, I'm the most dead center. Okay.
Right.
You look at who's considered the top quarterbacks between Caleb Williams, Drake May, Daniels. Out of those three, one of them, every year for the past few years of their college career, one of them, completion percentage went up year after year, passing yards went up year after year, touchdowns went up year after year, interceptions went down ever so slightly, rushing yards went up year after year, and that's Daniels.
That is true.
That's not May, and it's not Williams. So I get this is what these players coming in say, but numbers don't really back it up. I'm not saying he's terrible, but also the highlights. I make more highlights. The last high pick at quarterback the Bears picked also had highlights. His time there, Justin Fields. How'd that work out? Highlights. You are more concerned with highlights than consistency. That's what I take from that. Same as Justin Fields.
Well, he's going to have every shot, every chance to do this. Let's see. Rhett Setter, the U.S. government holds at least $5 billion in seized Bitcoin as of June 23. Rhett says it. I believe that. Possum Neck Joe. My family made fun of me for wearing Skechers and buying in when they first came out. I said they would be big one day. Started around $2, now $58 a share. How about that? Look at Joe. Joe is telling you that he bought in early on Bitcoin is what he's telling you. Unnamed texter. Drake May will go further in the NFL. He could. And again, a lot of it's going to depend on what they put around these guys. But we know that. But so you think Caleb Williams could go the direction of Justin Fields?
I don't. I think he'll have a better showing than Fields. But I don't see like a Pro Bowl. No, not that far better than Justin Fields. Let's say that.
Fair enough. More draft coverage tomorrow. Also, we'll get to some of these stories I didn't get a chance to hit on the NCAA. A lot of NFL today. We'll get to this Dak Prescott story tomorrow as well. Thanks to David Murray. Also, Chris Landry jumping in. Rhett sends you a Forbes article, Beaver, you can read on this Bitcoin hostage taking by the federal government. Remember, ketchup is king. Bacon's a delicacy. Aloha means goodbye. Be a man of increase. See you tomorrow. Good night.